When life leaves you high and dry, I'll be at your door tonight. If you need help, if you need help, I'll shut down the city lights. I'll cheat, I'll beg and bribe to make you well, to make you well. When enemies are at your door, I'll carry you away from more. If you need help, if you need help, your hope dangling by a string, I'll share in your suffering to make you well, to make you well. Give me reasons to believe that you would do the same for me, and I will do it for you. For you. Baby, I'm not moving on. I'll love you long after you're gone. After you're gone, gone, gone. When you fall like a statue, I'm gonna be there to catch you, put you on your feet, you on your feet. And if your well is empty, not a thing will prevent me. Tell me what you need, what do you need? I surrender honestly, always done the same for me.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Laura's twin sister. Don't we look alike? No, it's good to have laughter, right? We are here this afternoon to celebrate a phenomenal woman. If you agree, will you clap with me? Phenomenal. But guess what? She also has a phenomenal husband, children, and grandchildren. If you could stand, let's stand. Not you guys sit. We are clapping for you. You too, Doug. Doug said, I'm gonna clap for myself. This is so awesome. We're so grateful for each and every one of you that came on this evening. We're so grateful for those that are watching on Facebook Live and Twitter, Instagram, whatever you're looking at. We're thankful that you're here. For those that are here, you have no idea what this means to the family. Just your presence being here means so much. I spoke with Alyssa, and she says she has over here is some papers that she would like, if you would like to share your favorite song that reminds you of Laura, and place it in the jar. Also, if you don't mind, if you would like to put your name, your address on there, just so we can just acknowledge you were here and that your presence here just means so much. Okay? On today, I just want to read this poem because it reminds me so much of her and what we are doing here on this afternoon to honor her. I'm not going to say in memory of her because I feel her presence. How many of you feel it? I feel her presence, exactly. So today we're honoring her. And the poem is simply called The Dash. And it reads, it's by Linda Ellis. And it reads, I read of a man who stood to speak at a funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to end. He noted that first came the date of birth and spoke the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time that they spent alive on earth, and now only those who love them knows how much that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you like to change? For you never know how much time is left that this can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real, and always try to understand the way other people feel. And be less quick to anger and show appreciation more and love the people in our lives like we have never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you spent your dash? Today, we are talking about a woman that well lived her dash, and all of you are here as a representation of that dash. So again, we're grateful, and let the celebration begin. First, we're going to call Diane Sherman, her cousin. After, Suzanne Richardson, her childhood friend. Jim Armstrong and Bob Boyd. I'm sorry, Jim Armstrong via a video. And then we will come back for the rest of the remarks. Thank you so much. Diane Sherman.
First off, I am not Diane. For those of you who don't know, I am Janina. I'm Laura's stepdaughter from Texas. I am standing in for Diane Sherman and one more person today. So remarks by Diane Sherman. I'm sorry I can't be with all of you today, but COVID precautions and other health concerns prevented me from joining this incredibly special occasion to honor a very special person. I will keep my remarks brief, not because I don't have a lot to say about Laura, but because I know she has a rich abundance of friends and family who want to share their own memories and love for her. As her older cousin by 7 years, I had the privilege of knowing Laura for her entire life. Her mother was my mother, Joyce's sister. Joyce and Helen were the youngest of the infamous four Hackman clan in London, England, and both immigrated to the United States a few years apart as young women to start their own life's journey and family here in America. Some of my fondest memories of my childhood were our joint Thanksgiving gatherings, either in Fairfax, Virginia, where Laura grew up, or in Rochester, New York, where I grew up. Laura was always sunshine and light, adoring her parents, and doting on her brother John and Wendy, and her sister Wendy. An easygoing, fun-loving, stubborn when she had to be little girl who was the delight of everyone who met her. Well, what would Laura want me most to remember and to say today? First, our shared love and profound respect for her mother, my Aunt Helen. Helen was a trailblazer and accomplished award-winning public health professional. When I moved to D.C. for college in the early 70s, her family was an anchor for me. Sunday dinners were commonplace. Laura knew that Aunt Helen had to become an important mentor and confidant to me, encouraging me as I tried to make my own professional mark on the world. When Helen was diagnosed with MS, Laura and I shared many intimate, gut-wrenching moments as the disease progressed. Laura and I remember all those times that we held each other up. Your mom loved you with everything she had, and I was glad I was here to help. Second, I serve as a family messenger. I bring the combined love and memories of our family in the U.S. and England. Grandma Cecilia and Grandpa Robert, Aunties Maddie, Norma, and Joyce, Uncles Philip, Jack, and David, and cousins Richard, Penny, Peter, Brad, and Dawn. We love you all. We love you, Laura, and we are all so lucky to have had you in our lives. Finally, what stands out when I think of Laura? Her unwavering determination, optimism, humanity, and fighting spirit. We saw that during the health struggles of her mother and fathers, her clients, her sister Wendy, and then her own. Through it all, she never lost her gentle smile and generous spirit. And of course, her own family was the most important thing to her, Dwayne, Alyssa, and Chris. Laura's struggles are now over. Our task is to keep her memory alive by remembering and carrying forward her kindness and love. May she rest with those she loves and in the eternal peace and joy. And those are remarks from Diane Sherman.
So can I have David Feldman, her nephew, come forth?
Hello, everybody. My name is David, and I'm Auntie Lala's nephew. And in true Auntie Lala form, I wrote this speech this morning. As you will all hear today, and how you have experienced in all of your lives, Auntie Lala is one of the warmest, most positive people that I know and love. One important piece of information that she shared with me that has always stuck with me is that she lived her life with the intent of being a great mom first and working second, rather than being a working mother. This ideal pervaded every part of her life. She cared about relationships and feelings of others, and she was the glue to her family and her friends. My memories of her are all centered around her being present in the moment and always full of surprises. I remember multiple times as a kid waking up to hearing her voice downstairs, having no idea that she was going to be there. I remember being so surprised, getting dressed in jeans and running down the stairs to find her in pajamas, waiting for us for breakfast. Later, she would remark how the Feldmans are always dressed, whereas she would rather be in pajamas all day if she were given the choice. I remember being bummed that she was not going to be able to make it to my college graduation. I spoke to her every day that week, up until the graduation day. There, I met up with the rest of my family, and we made it to the restaurant before the event. We walked in to the lobby, and you would never guess who was there waiting for us. Little did I know that all the while that I was talking to her that week, she was making her way to me, and that she had been putting herself on mute in the airport every time something came on the intercom. Later that weekend of my graduation, we drove up the back roads of the Central Valley in California to make it back to my parents' house, just her and I, past orchards of almond trees and cows, enjoying the scenes while each of us trying not to panic that the empty gas light came on at the very beginning of our 100-mile drive. We both laughed in relief when we finally made it home, and we continued to laugh at that memory for years to come. Another time, she was visiting her and Dwayne's family in Dallas. She decided to take a walk alone in the neighborhood, and she ended up calling me to chat while she walked. Before either of us knew it, I was on Google Maps Street View walking alongside her. Though thousands of miles apart, together we enjoyed looking at the creek and the woods together and judging the houses in the neighborhood one by one. Of course, these are only 3 of innumerable memories that made Auntie Lala who she is. To me, she was and still is full of spark, spontaneity, living in the present, finding a loving place for everyone she knew, and always living her life to the very fullest. Thank you.
Laura, I wrote this for you. I titled it, My Friend Laura and Believing. When I first met you, I liked you immediately, and it's just this thing I have of knowing things, so I probably knew we would be friends forever. And we were for over 40 years, and oh my gosh, that gusto you had. For all things in life, you never held back. Your face comes in my mind, that smile and that laughter. My gosh, it was impossible to not join in. You just had that way of making me laugh too with abandon. It is just that energy you had and your belief, that full, non-wavering belief you had in each of us you loved. You cherished independence, respected intelligence, and were so satisfied when things got done. And sending goofy cards because of some kooky things I told you about, and insisting your children be whatever they wanted to be, because you nurtured, assured, encouraged, maybe even demanded that they each see a splendid, curious world you were a part of, and you never apologized for anything you believed in. And for that time of my years on this earth, when that you were an integral part of my life, I'm grateful to heaven. So when I hear in my mind your distinctive voice and that intoxicant of a laughter, and I think of so many visits we had, and being a part of your world, which was family and friends you loved and believed in, I will be ever, ever thankful I have you as one of my most treasured friends. Dwayne, Alyssa, Christopher, John, Doug, Tiara, Diane, all the family and friends I got to know and love because of Laura. I'm blessed to be a part of this in this way, and I'm just so thankful I could do this.
Following the program, if each person can come in the order that they are listed at this time to share your celebrations. Thank you. I believe next would be Bob Boyle.
Hello, guys. And again, I am not Bob. So I will read on behalf of Bob and the Boyd family. As we write our short story of our dear friend Laura Martin, our hearts are pounding and our tears are flowing. Laura will always be considered as our closest friend, as our beloved sister. We know that everyone would consider her as a sister because that's the kind of human being that she has always been and was to every person that came into her life. We are all so fortunate to have been given this gem, to have had this gem, Laura Martin, in our lives. We raised our children together as one family and shared the ride-share duties to and from school, sports, and dance classes. Alyssa is the same age as our Ashley, and Chris is the same age as our Tyler. What fun we all had raising our children together, vacationing together, meals together, and so much more that created an even more special bond that we have had with Laura and the entire Martin family. We cry when we think of her passing, but even more strongly, we celebrate our memories and the time that we have had with her. Laura was always full of surprises, goodness, kindness, and generosity. We could share so much more about Laura with all of you, but there is not enough ink and paper to write all of the memories and all of the outstanding experiences that we shared with Laura. Laura Martin is voted by the Boyd family the most beautiful person on the planet, the proudest mother on the planet, and the most caring and giving person on the planet. Laura Martin, we love you and we always will. If you are fortunate enough to be loved as a person, just as much as you are liked as a person, then that is a truly unique and special quality to have. The reality in life is that we all have people in our families that we love because they are our family. But we don't like them because we don't agree with their actions and the other way they treat people. But Laura Martin, you are liked just as much as you are loved. Love always, forever, and all the time, the Boyd family, Andrea, Bob, Ashley, and Tyler.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Robin Wolf, and I am a friend of Laura's from, I guess, about 20 years ago. We met from baseball. I think I knew Karen Haley first. Over there, Karen. She is the ultimate baseball mom of us all. And then Laura, I got to know Laura through Karen. And the three of us watched many baseball games in the Hopewell Valley Baseball and Softball Association, and we were pretty good. We had Christopher was on the team. He was a great outfielder, and Alex was your all-time Division I player. And then my son, I think I saw him coming in the back, a lefty pitcher. So that was my social life, watching baseball games. And at one point, through many years, I mean, I think they were young then, but they were starting to get good and older. Chris decided not to go out for the team. I mean, it was like, what are we going to do? Me, Laura, and Karen, our threesome. But we did survive, and we have been friends forever since. And we do forgive you, Chris. Karen and I helped out with many of Laura's causes, and I recognize many of you people today in the various causes that she's been. She started out at the Breast Cancer Resource Center and helped fight the fight. I am wearing pink in honor of our month of October. That much I know. And I think this is the only thing. It's not as bright as I used to be, but you know, we know that October was Breast Cancer Resource Month. Karen and I helped out with the silent auctions and attended the annual BCRC fashion show, and it was fabulous. Laura was amazing. She was a survivor, as you all know, and she passed on her experience and compassion to everyone. If someone showed up at BCRC at 6 o'clock, you know, it was definitely quitting time. She would go that extra mile and stay, and she just gave her all. Also loved the dragon boat races in the summer. Those were totally intense and a long day. Is it a coincidence that we're celebrating Laura's life in October, the month meant to bring focused breast cancer awareness? Perhaps not. We saw her at her best. She was totally busy, putting long hours and late nights, but when showtime came, she was on top of her game. She was beautiful, even a model with her daughter Alyssa, and it was just amazing to watch. I'm not a survivor, but all those survivors really got together to celebrate, and they were joyous and an inspiration to us all. Several years went by. One of our threesome, Karen, moved to New England, and Laura's talents were recognized by and recruited by Capital Health, and she became a patient navigator. And I see a lot of Capital Health people here today. She was a real asset to Capital Health. And at one point, I got to see her through an eyes of, not a patient, but my mom was. She had lymphoma, and I got to see Laura with, just doing what she does best, working with patients, helping us guide our way. And my mother and I and the whole staff we were in very good hands, and that was a real blessing. All right, so as a friend and all of you, we've got so much good things to say about Laura. And if you'll notice on the invitation that you got, and I was surprised it wasn't on here, but that's okay. She was a elephant lady. I mean, she really was into her elephants. So I just want to go over some of those elephant traits, and they speak very loudly of Laura, okay? Intelligence, wisdom, majesty, loyalty, and strength. And for expressive qualities, joy, grief, compassion, and love. And I'm going to attempt to equate these to Laura. Bear with me. Those qualities do describe Laura to a T, I think. And when Laura's first granddaughter was born, that was a major event. Laura always wanted a grandchild. And her name was Elia. And so I went to Laura and said, Elia, is that because of your symbol, the elephant? And she said, I don't think so. But both of us thought the name was just meant to be somehow. Laura loves her family and was so close to every member. She talked of them often. I can't even say enough about Dwayne. He was her rock. And together they created 2 talented and beautiful children. She was so proud of Christopher and Alyssa and their growing families. I could go on and on about each one of them. And not to mention the blended families and the children of Dwayne's, the stepchildren, cousins, nephews, nieces. She really was totally into a family, and so are elephants. Just want to let you know. As the years grew on, I referred to Laura as my bestie. She said she felt comfortable in my home, and she felt me comfortable in her home as well. And that was kind of a backhanded compliment because we're both a little messy. So we didn't have to worry about, papers being around and stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of funny. But we did a lot of things together, and looking back, some of them were a little atypical, some of them kind of old-fashioned, maybe boring, but we were really into some of these things. She liked to go berry picking. We would berry pick for hours, getting those blueberries, and afterwards we'd go to another farm in New Egypt and pull up some onions, potatoes, whatever. And I said to her at one time, do you realize they were the only people who speak English here? There were so many different languages I can't even tell you, but it was fun out in New Egypt. She was big into bands. She was big into fireworks. The 4th of July came, we would see several displays, TCNJ, the Parks, Ryder. We loved to go to an outdoor movie at the Willamers House as members of the Folly Avenue Film Club. They were great, and I'm going to miss those. One time, afterwards we went to their big backyard and we looked for meteors. It was a big meteor shower. I saw 5, Laura saw none. It was just really kind of funny. Every time I would shout, "Did you see that one?" She would be totally looking in the other direction, and it was always kind of a joke. But I do want to tell you that there is a Orionid meteor shower tonight. If you're up at 2 p.m., we have some other astronomy people here. Okay, 80 meteors an hour you're supposed to see. So get up. I get up that time, it seems like, anyway. Go outside and you'll see some. And think of Laura, would you? We went to the Women's March in Trenton, painting parties, local theater. We went to the Fiddlers Contest at Howell Farm, just watching the grass grow. It was just kind of fun. Crossings Vineyard, on her birthday, she was up there with the band dancing. She loved the Grease Band. One time we went to Crossings Vineyard and we decided, I'm not sure whose idea was this, but to carpool, and we parked at the police station on Pennington Titusville Road. It was probably not the best idea, but Laura lost her keys. So we're looking all over the place in the police department, and I just drove her home. We went back the next day and actually found the keys. And if she hadn't have lost those keys, we would have never seen that eagle. You know, we were so excited about seeing an eagle on our way home. So that was a big thing. We rode our bikes, went for walks. One story that was just kind of funny, that we went to the liquor store, maybe Dwayne, you remember this? It was her birthday, and we just had to go get a bottle of wine because we were going to celebrate her birthday back at their house. But they had wine tasting there, so we took a few sips, and 2 hours later, I think Dwayne called me because Laura never answered her phone, as you all know, and I was like, "Oh, we're on our way home. We're on our way home." But it was just kind of a humorous evening because we just met some other people, a beautiful woman from from Haiti. And then what turns out to be one of my son's friends. And I said, would you please text him and tell him that I'm partying with your mother? It was a birthday not to be forgotten, and sorry about that, Dwayne. We also met up in Cape Cod a few years ago, and we got to see Karen and Richard again. We were like a couple of kids, and we had fun. Laura decided to celebrate her 58th birthday, and happy to surpass the age of 57, the year that her dad and sister passed. And looking back, I suppose maybe she always had that age in mind, because she lived life to the fullest. And her 58th birthday, the birthday bash was this very room, was such a highlight for Laura. We all had fun, and we all celebrated together. It wasn't too long after that where she got that dreaded diagnosis, and here we did see the strength of the elephant. I was amazed how strong and composed she could be. I was determined as a friend to help her in any way I could, and the coronavirus did not make it easy. I so much wanted to give her a hug. I painted inspirational cards to keep her spirit up. I got a long phone charger, since she was always up, between 12 midnight and in the morning. And if I get a text, I'd text her right back or try to talk. She continued to work from home, had several cocktails of chemo with varying side effects, but she always looked fabulous. She always looked like this picture. She had a short haircut. She was salt and pepper. She smiled. I know there was pain underneath the smiles, but she had the strength of an elephant. She really did. Newly retired, I was able to devote some time in attempting to keep Laura's spirits up. I got her so much elephant stuff. It was just like, she got books, coloring books, pictures, necklaces, mugs. I just couldn't help myself. And I still think I have some left in my closet. But I am a better person for having known Laura. I really had to step up to support my bestie and get a bit creative. I was not always the most demonstrative kid. When I was in college, all of my friends, my roommates, and my best friends back then called me a hard ass because I never cried, I wasn't a hugger, but after 4 years, I was totally converted. And the last few years have converted me even more. I have stepped up to the plate and tried to also use those elephant traits and to be the best I could be to Laura. And just to close, I wanted just tell you a few more elephant things that I want to pass on. You know, I certainly, and through the years, seeing the March date when she passed, I have grieved and shed a lot of tears. But I think that's a necessity for all of us to be able to move on. She was such a positive person and an influence in my life. And elephants are loyal, and they mourn the death of their loved ones, and they will pause several minutes of silence in the place where one of their loved ones died, even after several years. They never forget. I want to live life to its fullest and take time to smell the roses. I want to demonstrate heartfelt compassion to those who need it. When an elephant cries, the herd will touch and caress that baby. I want to express joy in my heart, sing like no one's listening, and dance. Elephants love to play in the water. And most of all, I want to love unconditionally and express that love in the best manner possible to my neighbors, to my colleagues, and to my family and friends. I think that'll make a world a better place. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're asking now for Palmer, Karen, and via video, Laura, and then Ann. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Hi, I'm Palmer. Let me just, I guess. I think I've known Laura for about 8 or 9, maybe 10 years. I don't know at this point. I can't keep track of years anymore. They just all run together. But I met Laura through mutual friends, Robin and Barry, and I heard about her for probably a couple of years before I met her. And what I would hear about her was that somebody had a friend of theirs would have a fresh diagnosis of breast cancer, and Laura would be there on a Friday night, a Sunday morning, whatever it took to help this person who was like newly shocked and having a rough time, kind of feel better about what the possibilities were down the line and really help them out. So I admired her. I hadn't even met her yet. And when I did meet her, I met her in a really light, fun way. Barry and Robin had organized an outing to the sing-along Sound of Music at McCarter Theater. And Robin made us great nun costumes. We were wearing black, I think graduation gowns and white turtlenecks. It's really quite a picture. We thought we were going to win the prize for the best costume, but the little goat herds beat us out that night. So that was disappointing. But how often do you meet somebody and 30 minutes later you're singing, how do you solve a problem like Maria? How do you catch a cloud and pin it down? I mean, the top of our lungs. It was just such a fun way to meet her. And in my mind, that was who Laura really was, just somebody full of spirit and fun and seriousness when seriousness was needed and love and support. But God, what a fun spirit she had. So another more serious memory, though still fun, was the march, January 21st, 2017, the Trenton War Memorial. And there was just such a wonderful feeling. Robin and Laura and I went together of just sisterhood and camaraderie, and the whole Trenton War Memorial was filled with that spirit. And again, just listening to people speak and being reminded that we really are all connected, that we're not just little islands floating around. What we do and say and how we are in the world really matters to everybody else. So that was very, very important. Laura had a sign that said, respect existence. Oh, I should really take this off. Sorry. Respect existence or expect resistance. Simple, to the point, and full of attention, like Laura. Another time I want to mention is when she invited me to the Breast Cancer Resource Center Campfire Sing-Along. About 20 of us around the campfire singing, shared stories and some wars, and she just pulled the group together. She was such a group leader, and I suspect, in her work she was a great leader, though I didn't know her that way. And one of the things that was really moving for me was that my mother had died of complications from breast cancer. And I don't think my mother ever had the sort of support that I saw happening there that was really Laura, just absolutely oozing into this group, love and support, and all kinds of, acknowledging people for all kinds of things. And yes, we really did sing Michael Row the Boat Ashore. We really did sing Girl Scout song, Make New Friends but Keep the Old. And yes, we sang it in a round. Hadn't done that since a Girl Scout. And the last memory I want to share is that a few years back, I had a screen porch built on the side of my house. And my house is along the DNR Canal, so after 7 o'clock when the mosquitoes come out, you just can't sit outside. But finally, we could sit on the porch, keep the bugs out, the friends in, and it was just an opportunity. We just kind of had a close circle of, we get together and do a barbecue or whatever, and I think those were some of my best memories of all of my friends, of just, getting to spend time together, just shooting the breeze and all of that. And I have so many wonderful photos of all of us on the porch together. That was just really lovely for that. So from nuns to marching sisters to campfire girls to porch friends, I think the last few lines of that Roger and Hammerstein song, how do you solve a problem like Maria? How do you keep a wave upon the sand? How do you hold a moonbeam in your hand? To Laura. Thank you.
Okay, I'll be the one that will cry, so bear with me here. I am Karen Haley. I hope you can hear me. And it's already starting, but I miss this lady. I'm the emotional one out of the three. Laura, so super strong, so smart, so pragmatic, extremely thoughtful, kind, giving, caring for anyone, super silly, crazy fun, an awesome mom and wife. I miss her, like I miss my daughter. We spent many, many years together, playing, laughing, joking, eating, drinking, walking. Robin had a whole wealth of events that we've gone through together. We had a lot of fun, and we did laugh, and we played hard, and we played silly, but we had a lot of serious times as well. But she is a rock. Beautiful family that she brought to this earth. What I'm about to read is written by Margaret Mead, an anthropologist who commented on a variety of social issues, which always reminds me of Laura. And one of the commentaries this Margaret Mead had was on women's rights. This is not what this is about, but it reminds me of Laura, and it also, to me, is Laura's message to all of us. It's called Remember Me. To the living, I am gone. To the sorrowful, I will never return. To the angry, I was cheated. But to the happy, believe it or not, I am happy. I am at peace. And to the faithful, I have never left. I cannot be seen, but I can be heard. So as you stand upon a shore, gazing at a beautiful sea, remember me. As you look in awe at a mighty forest and its grand majesty, remember me. As you look upon a flower, sunflowers, remember me. Remember me in your hearts, your thoughts, your memories of the times we loved, the times we cried, the times we fought, the times we laughed. But if you always think of me, I will never be. I miss you. I believe Laura or Lauren is on video.
Laura, in celebration of a life well lived. There are so many memories of the time we had spent through our work and our friendship, all with love and intent. She lived her whole life with the highest vibration and took time on her journey for much celebration. Her struggle seemed to fuel a desire towards service, an innate drive to support with a great sense of purpose. A smile and deep wit that was downright benevolent toward her family and friends and, of course, any elephant. She fought a good fight and would not cave to her illness, instead guiding others in their plight through their battle and stillness. A passionate soul who loved joy more than sadness and danced away fear and balked at the madness. Surrounded by a family that loved her all through it and friends who admired her ability to do it. Her laughter brought the most wonderful sound and became something extremely contagious. She loved to let loose and wasn't afraid to be vocal or completely outrageous. That last year when she knew she might lose her fight, she was brought the most beautiful gift. A grandchild, a little girl that gave her heart and her will the most joyous and bountiful lift. I can only imagine she's in a picturesque place where she sees us all growing and living. But the one thing I know in my heart and my soul is wherever she is giving. Of herself and her service to here and thereafter, where all who surround her are forever filled with her laughter. With love and gratitude.
BYOT, bring your own tissue. My name is Anne, and I've been a friend of Laura's since 2009. To Dwayne, Alyssa, Doug, Elia, Christopher, and Tiara, extended family and wonderful friends, I'm going to try to do two things. Speak slowly and not cry. Thank you for giving me the honor of speaking here today to honor our Laura. And thank you, Laura, for considering our friendship to be such that you would want me to share our story with your dearest friends and family. Laura and I met in 2009 when I called the BCRC. I had just been diagnosed with breast cancer, the disease that took my own mother before her 55th birthday. And I felt I needed to talk to someone who had been through the journey of breast cancer, surgery, and chemotherapy, and made it safely to the other side. Laura and I quickly made a date to get together and chat at the old BCRC location at the Bromwell House. Of course, I got lost finding my way, and after a quick phone call, Laura put me back on track for a meeting. We met in the conference room at the Bromwell House, and that is where our friendship began. Laura immediately put me at ease as she shared her own story through diagnosis, surgery, reconstruction, and chemotherapy. Her honesty and calm demeanor made me feel like I could see this journey through, as she did, and help others as she was surely helping me. I had just met this woman, and here she was telling me the most intimate details of her journey, of her breast cancer journey with me. I was so touched and amazed, and I realized that this is what women do. We rally around, and we pull women up, and we circle, and we hug, and we support. I can only imagine the hundreds of women like me who Laura had met and made feel hope and promise and survival. Laura's dream team of surgeons, Dr. Rachel Dultz and Dr. Philip Way, became my dream team of surgeons as well. And while I didn't avail myself of all the support programs that the BCRC had to offer, my connection to Laura was strong and continued. I knew I could pick up the phone at any time if I needed anything. Because I was going to undergo chemotherapy, Laura suggested that I shop for a wig sooner than later, before my hair fell out. She said that while the BCRC didn't have a huge selection of donated wigs to try on, it was an option if I wanted to dip my toe into the realm of preparing to lose my hair. Laura was busy on the day of my appointment, and so she put my husband Julio and I in the capable hands of today's Master of Ceremonies, Brenda. And thank you to Brenda for making what could have been a very upsetting and difficult appointment an unexpected giggle fest. We were having so much fun during the session that Laura had to stick her head into the conference room and shush us for being too loud. I tried on wigs, Brenda tried on wigs, and Julio tried on wigs. Sorry we don't have any pictures to show, but it was quite an event. We would chat every few months about our families and our world events. Barack Obama becoming president, Alyssa graduating from college, and Christopher heading to college. She invited me and my two sons, Jonathan and Connor, to model for the annual In the Pink fashion show, which allowed us to celebrate my completion of chemotherapy and my return to work. I saw how hard Laura worked behind the scenes to put this fundraiser together that celebrated women who, like me, had embarked on a journey that we hadn't planned or packed for, and as well as to raise money so that the BCRC could continue to support the women who were diagnosed with this awful disease. We exchanged Christmas cards each year and became Facebook friends. I delighted in hearing everything about her family and friends, as well as her wicked sense of humor. I was especially happy to learn that she was also a fan of Sandra Boynton animal greeting cards. I called her when I heard about her sister Wendy. She had shared Wendy's story with me on that very first day that we met, and I was sorry to hear of her loss. When our family got a new puppy, I brought Tessa to the BCRC to meet Laura and get snuggles as only Laura could provide. One year during the Breast Cancer Awareness Month, my husband Julio and one of his friends volunteered to be bartenders at the Palm Restaurant in New York City, where he used to frequent for lunches and dinners. A portion of the funds raised during that happy hour would be donated to the BCRC. Laura and I met for a lovely outdoor lunch at Mediterra, where we toasted our good fortune and the proceeds provided by the happy hour. And no, we didn't spend all the money. Good fortune and blessings continued for both our families as beautiful Alyssa got married and soon made Laura and Dwayne grandparents. I was so excited for Laura and her family. I was especially excited to start sending Laura all of the crafty Facebook recommendations that she and I used to send and torture Kara Stevenson with. Bunny pancakes, Sesame Street fruit and veggie trays, homemade Halloween costumes, healthy dolphins made out of bananas with little blueberries stuck in their mouths to look like a beach ball. We would have a good laugh whenever we thought about trying to attempt any of these crafty endeavors. As my 10-year breast cancer anniversary approached, I reached out to Laura to get her new address because I wanted to send her a note commemorating my milestone and thank her for the years of friendship and support and invite her out to celebratory lunch or dinner. And that was when she told me about her diagnosis. Laura faced every challenge head on, and she planned to put up her dukes and fight this battle just as she fought the previous one. She was well aware of what was ahead of her. But her determination and the love she had for herself and for her family carried her through the grueling rounds of chemotherapy. We continued to communicate via text because it was just too exhausting to revisit all that was going on. I was so happy to hear that she was having a Just Because birthday party in 2019, and I was honored to be on the guest list for this fun event. Unfortunately, Julio and I were out of town that weekend, but sent along our well wishes, as well as some specially made purple M&Ms with her birthday picture on them. Laura's love for all things fun, purple, and elephants will continue to bring a smile to my face whenever I see a cute Ellie video come up on social video. I was also happy to hear of Christopher and Tiara's engagement and that Laura could join them in celebrating their exciting news. Laura's close circle of friends reached out to me in late February when the end was near, and we all prayed that her journey would be peaceful and pain-free. And now here we are, honoring our dear friend and sister, and remembering the little and the special moments we had with this amazing woman. Truth be told, my connection and friendship with Laura began because of an unfortunate diagnosis of breast cancer. But out of that darkness, she shone her light and welcomed me into her circle. Thank you, Laura, for being my guardian angel, for sharing your story, for making me feel less alone and less afraid of my diagnosis of breast cancer, for showing me compassion, true connection, empathy, and strength, for giving me hope and the courage to face surgery, chemotherapy, hair loss, and fatigue, for your quick wit and beautiful smile and infectious laugh, for showing us all the way through a difficult journey that doesn't always end the way we want it to or the way we had hoped. We mourn your loss, but we celebrate your life and the amazing gift of friendship you gave to so many of us. Your light, your love, and your essence will continue to shine on and all those who loved you and touched you, and we will be forever grateful. Thank you.
Wow, what a lady she is, our Miss Laura. I'm actually going to go this way. Maybe not. Okay, but I need the glasses. So thank you again for allowing me to participate today and to celebrate Laura. So we are here to remember her joyful spirit and the precious gift that she was to all of us. People come into our lives, whether by pure luck or divine intervention, or maybe even a blend of both. Laura entered my life in 2011. It was at the YWCA where we became fast colleagues and friends. Despite life's challenges, Laura believed in so much. She believed in the goodness of others. She believed in hope. She believed each of us could touch someone's heart or alter someone's life trajectory. Laura was not only a believer, but she was a doer. She walked the talk. The BCRC was located in an old, ancient farmhouse in Princeton. The main entrance to the center happened to be, quote unquote, Laura's office, but it was really a small converted mudroom. It didn't matter that every person who entered the center had to squeeze behind Laura's chair because there was no room. She was on a mission to do whatever it took to be that difference in someone's life. Laura and what we call her posse, many here today, Brenda, Christine, Michelle, we work to be of service to others and to be that catalyst in causes bigger than ourselves. Whether it was inequality or injustices, access to education and special programs, or providing hope, Laura was there. It didn't matter who you were or where you were from, she would move mountains and shake things up if she had to. Her family was her rock, her foundation, her pride, and her joy. Dwayne and her children were everything. That is until Elliot came along. Their love and support allowed Laura to be at countless events, sharing her story of survivorship on nights and weekends. And Alyssa and Christopher, I bet you thought all mothers had a half a closet filled with pink clothing. Laura was a fierce advocate for breast cancer, raising more than $300,000 to help those with cancer pay their electric bills, afford their medicine, or even secure a wig. It was Laura who developed the region's first transportation program so that women could have rides to the radiation and chemotherapy treatments. She also arranged for a survivor, breast cancer survivor, to sit with that patient during those treatments so that they would not be alone. In 2017, Laura was tickled pink at the opportunity to join Capitol Health's Cancer Center, working closely with Dr. Lisa Allen, Dr. Erica Linden, and Trish Tatry, who she had come to know over the years. It meant that she could continue to fulfill her love of interacting and helping other cancer patients. I was ecstatic to join her as a colleague once more, and an extremely talented team of passionate people, many of who are here today. We all loved Laura, so it was only appropriate that her family named her website WeLoveLauraMartin.com. She was authentic, living her truth her way. She was delightfully inappropriate in her humor, and she loved to get a rise out of people and then stand there innocently with a huge, impish grin. I would like to share a memory of Laura that captures these characteristics that are unique to her. Despite pancreatic cancer rearing its ugly head, Laura studied and became credentialed as an oncology patient navigator. an incredible accomplishment under normal circumstances. I was tasked with writing an article about her success for the Cancer Center newsletter, a publication that goes to 200,000 households across Mercer County and Bucks County. However, I didn't have her headshot, and I wanted to give her the opportunity to decide which photo and hairstyle she wanted. Long brown hair, her classic bob cut, the sassy pixie, her brown hair, or her foxy silver hair. So I texted her that I needed a photo. I happened to be in a meeting with a senior leader, and my phone started pinging. 1 ping, 2 ping, 3 ping. Approaching the 10th ping, I could no longer withhold my smiles and had to fess up as to what was happening. You see, she sent me 15 headshots, but not one was acceptable. I received photos of her in a ski cap, with a handlebar mustache, as a troll in a Halloween costume, wearing a birthday hat, holding a bottle of Fireball whiskey, sporting a headband with little smiling sun shaking on top, and even ribbons and bows that she taped to her beautiful bald head, and sweetly asking, "Do any of these work?" So this is exactly what I miss most about Laura. Her bringing laughter and joy into existence, her funny wit, her ability to take a situation from a 1 to a 10. So today, as we pause and take a moment to celebrate Laura, it is also our chance to say thank you for the way you brightened our lives and in the world. I don't know if you're familiar with the movie and story called Calendar Girls, based from a small town in Yorkshire, England, where a gentleman was diagnosed with cancer. After his diagnosis, he started planting sunflowers, which you'll see some today. So he hoped to give them to friends and family by the time he was cured of his cancer. But when a villager asked him why sunflowers, he responded, "I don't think there's anything on this planet that trumpets life more than the sunflower. For me, that's because of the reason behind its name. Not because it looks like the sun, but because it follows the sun. During the course of the day, the head tracks the journey of the sun across the sky, a satellite dish for sunshine. Wherever light is, no matter how weak, these flowers will find it. And that's such an admirable thing, and such a lesson in life. Laura, may your life continue to shine brightly, and may we be reminded that if we look, we will find you. God bless."
Hello, I'm Roxanne. I had the great fortune of being co-worker and friend of Laura's. We all here had the wonderful experience in our lives of meeting Laura. I was fortunate to be Laura's co-worker and friend. Within minutes of meeting Laura, she of course said something funny with a bit of a shock factor in the statement, and I was busy. I looked up from what I was doing, and there's Laura with that grin on her face to see what reaction she could get. Laura and I, you hear that she was a patient navigator. You also hear her called the transportologist. So when Laura first started, we were having a lot of issues with transportation, and it had been a problem for years. So Laura and I were working with a variety of people trying to fix this problem, and we decided that we needed to have a meeting with the higher ups who could actually do something about this transportation problem. So I said to Laura, listen, just start keeping some documentation. So here it is, we finally have our meeting, and Laura sits down, and she comes with pages upon pages upon pages of documentation. How many phone calls she made, how many times that the transportation was late or they didn't pick up the patient. We now have our own transportation van that has a wheelchair and a driver, all because of Laura. So she really, when she set her mind towards something, she really took charge of it and had a lot of results. When people meet Laura, they want to be her friend. She has charisma, she's approachable, kind, caring, and has that great witty sense of humor. Laura didn't build good friendships, she built great friendships. Laura brought people together. I realized this at her 50th birthday. It was just such an incredible celebration, and what a great celebration. It made me feel like, as Laura's friends, we all had this common bond with Laura, and that we all could be friends, and we all could enjoy and celebrate and know how lucky we were to be friends of Laura. Laura celebrated life, and she lived it. I used to think that this had to do with a great outlook after a grim diagnosis. But as I looked at pictures of her life from that great website, I realized that she always lived her life, and she always had a great time doing just that. So she just had this really wonderful gift of living her life and enjoying. I used to tell Laura that I'm actually a shy person outside of work. Laura and I would gather with friends to volunteer for many community events, always having a great time, and somehow always doing something that was a little bit crazy, a little bit outrageous, and I would say, "Remember, I'm actually shy," and she'd go, "Mm-hmm." Laura always did for others, and she had a tough time asking for help. So when she needed it, I decided to offer instead of ask. I had the great experience of being Laura's chauffeur during a time that she couldn't drive, and boy, did we have a ton of fun. That's when I learned most about her wonderful husband, Dwayne, and her wonderful family. We had so much fun on those drives home. And at that time, she was living in Alyssa's house. I know more about your house than we had quite a few fun times at your house. I continued to think about Laura each day. The morning after she died, there was the most magnificent sunrise, and I just knew. I took a picture of that sunrise, and I still look at it today, but in a way I took it as Laura saying it's going to be okay. Recently, I was listening to Pandora, Happy Radio, and song after song after song. It was songs that Laura just loved, that we would listen to in the car while I was her official chauffeur. And it got to the point where I stopped at a traffic light and I looked at my phone to make sure that this wasn't Laura's radio because there were so many songs. And I feel like these are the ways that she kind of touches my life and reminds me that she's still there with me. There's this beautiful poem about Cardinal being a reminder that someone you loved is looking over you. So amazingly, a family of cardinals built a nest in my front wreath on my front door, and now those baby cardinals have been born, and they live in the weeping cherry tree in front of my picture window. And every Saturday I sit down, I pull the shades up, and I watch these cardinals, all these cardinals. I don't see cardinals anywhere else, but I see them in this tree. And it's just, again, I always think of Laura when I see all these cardinals and how she's kind of knocking me in the head, But I want to share a quote with you. Laura knew I have inspirational quotes all over my office, but this is one of my favorite and truly about Laura. Many people will walk in and out of your life, but only true friends will leave footprints in your heart. And I thank Laura for leaving those footprints in my heart. Thank you.
If I try to balance microphone and paper, I'm going to end up with both on the floor, so I'll try and give this social distancing while I talk here. So I was somewhat remiss about talking because, as I think has been demonstrated today, I'm her brother, by the way. I've known Laura obviously longer than anyone else here, knew her for close to 60 years. But in a lot of ways, I knew her much less well than the people in this room, because you lived your lives on a daily basis with her, and I had periodic conversations. And I told her I was reluctant to speak, and of course she would have none of it. That was, you're speaking, dude, you are speaking. So I'm not going to try and, there's been a lot of themes covered here. I'm not going to try and fill in too many of the blanks, but maybe there's some things here that I can speak to that haven't been covered just because of the long arc. I'm gonna really cover just a vignette and a couple of takeaways that come to mind as I think about her. So when we spoke over the years, Laura reminded me repeatedly how mercilessly and relentlessly that I picked on her. But for some reason, I just don't remember that. Laura was 4 years younger than me, and because she was a younger sister rather than a younger brother, there really wasn't that much competition. But there was one anecdote that I want to tell you about that we actually talked and laughed about when it came up in February. My dad had bought us odometers for our bicycles, and I was somewhat of a hardcore jock, and of course I was 4 years older, and I was really into it, and I was going to kick her butt and put way more miles on my odometer than she did. Well, we had a housekeeper, and this woman would finish up by mid-afternoon each day and would go into the garage where she would chain smoke for like an hour to 2 hours while she waited for her carpool to where it was like thick with cigarette smoke. And I really didn't like to venture out there because it was like, a cancer waiting to happen. Well, one day I happened to venture out because, we had a refrigerator out there, went out to get a soda. It's like, what is she doing? She had Laura's bicycle turned upside down, and she had an oven mitt, and she was spinning the wheel. And I quickly realized that Laura is much more resourceful than I figured out. So it will come as no surprise to no one that Laura was a star student. I'm pretty certain in saying this that in all her grade and high school she had a single B, and that was a one-semester course. She was in her homecoming court. She was vice president of her junior class. For a while she twirled baton, but the one I like to call out, under the tutelage of her next-door neighbor, or our next-door neighbor, who was a woman who had emigrated from Ireland and was a national champion Irish dancer, Laura became arguably one of the great Jewish-American Irish dancers in the history of the United States. So I told Laura, or I said to her, it seemed like Capitol Health really is your favorite job along the way. And I figured it was a rhetorical question because by all indications the answer was going to be yes, and I'll get back to that in a second. But instead, she surprised me when she answered, I loved every job I had. Well, I don't know about you, but I couldn't say with a straight face the same thing. What it really spoke to was that Laura had a philosophy that your happiness and your state of mind is what you make it to be. She was really not a Pollyanna, but instead she explained that the common threads across her various roles included serving clients, having the space to accomplish things on her own while working as part of a team, improving processes, creating new things, and making friends. And while I can honestly say that my current job really is my favorite, through the lens by which Laura looked at the world, I really feel better about many of the stops I had along my career, so I really appreciate that guidance she gave me. Now, I think it was mentioned earlier, our mother was a doctor, and she was really committed to the underserved. Having a doctor for a mother had certain side benefits, like when I went out for sports and had to get a physical, there was a no wait for the physical exam, and I actually didn't get a physical exam, but that was kind of on the side. But a downside, and this is kind of ironic, is that my mother insisted that Laura go out and work with disadvantaged children, and some of them were really seriously disabled, mentally, physically disfigured. And Laura told me honestly, as a young teen, that it really kind of gave her the creeps. And the whole idea of hospitals, the smells, the needles, sick people, made a hospital the last place she ever wanted to work. So when we talked in February, she recognized the great irony of finding herself working and loving her job at Capital Health. And so I asked her how she reconciled that. Now, and some of you are aware, she studied hotel and restaurant management at Michigan State and worked in hotels before and after graduating. And in fact, she met Dwayne while working at a hotel in Kansas. And the way she reconciled the I will say, loathing of hospitals and the love of her role at Capital Health was simple. To her, the place was like a hotel, not only as a welcoming physical space, but as a place where patients were treated as guests, where lives were made better, stays and journeys less stressful and more bearable. And she was able to connect with patients as someone who could totally relate to what they were dealing with. And from that, she drew a tremendous amount of joy and satisfaction. Now, as you've heard before, thanks to some bad genes, Laura and I had the unfortunate opportunity to observe 3 models for dealing with terminal illness. My mother in her lengthy bout with MS, my sister Wendy several bouts with cancer over 3 decades, and my father's short and rapid decline. And in our conversations over the years, I realized that Laura was quite a bit more traumatized than I thought she had been. But rather than wallow in it, she took from that the commitment to power through it, to keep working and striving. And similarly, our sister Wendy demonstrated amazing energy and resolve, seeing patients right up to the last days before she passed. And from those, Laura drew great strength. Many of you marvel and have marveled today at Laura's grace, optimism, fortitude, and resilience during the long ordeal. And I've wondered what kind of strength I will have when my time comes, and I don't pretend to have an answer to that question. But whatever it might have been 30 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 3 years ago, certainly my resolve and my courage are greater, having witnessed a mindset and a model for how to deal with the most challenging of life's challenges. Let me close with a brief story. A friend of mine and I, who were leaders in our Boy Scout troop, were at a funeral. And as it ended, he said to me matter-of-factly, "I really enjoy funerals." And I'm kind of taken aback by that. And I asked him to elaborate, and what he said is he usually, or appreciates that they're usually uplifting, inspirational, and focus on the positive. And to that, I would add that they cause you to step back from the day-to-day noise, the trivial annoyances and priorities of the moment, and at least for me, celebrations of life are a time to take stock of my own life and what's important over the long arc of time, what I stand for, and what legacy I will leave. It's my sincere hope that you will come away from today and from this celebration more optimistic, more resilient, and more inspired. Thank you for being here for Laura. Thank you for being here today. And thank you for giving me a chance to share my reflections.
When life leaves you high and dry, I'll be at your door tonight if you need help, if you need help. I'll shut down the city lights, I'll lie, cheat, I'll beg and bribe to make you well, to make you well. When enemies are at your door, I'll carry you away from more if you need help, if you need help. Your hope dangling by a string, I'll share in your suffering to make you well, to make you well. Give me reasons to believe that you would do the same for me, and I will do it for you, for you. Baby, I'm not moving on, I'll love you long after you're gone. Sleep alone, I'll love you long after you go, and long after you're gone, gone, gone. When you fall like a statue, I'm gonna be there to catch you, put you on your feet, you on your feet. And if your well is empty, not a thing will prevent me. Tell me what you need, what do you need? I surrender honestly. You after you're gone, gone, gone. You're my backbone, you're my cornerstone, you're my crutch when my legs stop moving. You're my head start, you're my rugged heart, you're the pulse that I've always needed. Like a drum, baby, don't stop beating. Like a drum, baby, don't stop beating. Like a drum, baby, don't stop beating. Like a drum, my heart never stops beating for you. Baby, I'm not moving on. I'll love you long after you're gone. For you. You will never sleep alone. I'll love you long after you go. For you. Baby, I'm not moving on. I'll love you long after you're gone. For you. You will never sleep alone. I'll love you long, long after you go. Like a drum, baby, don't stop beating. Like a drum, baby, don't stop beating. Like a drum, baby, don't stop beating. Like a drum, my heart never stops beating for you. And long after you're gone, gone, gone. When life leaves you high and dry, I'll be at your door tonight if you need help, if you need help. I'll shut down the city lights, I'll lie, cheat, I'll beg and bribe to make you well, to make you well. When enemies are at your door, I'll carry you away from more if you need help, if you need help. Your hope dangling by a string, I'll share in your suffering to make you well, to make you well. Give me reasons to believe that you would do the same for me, and I will do it for you. For you. Baby, I'm not moving on. I'll love you long after you're gone. For you. For you. You will never sleep alone. I'll love you long after you go, and long after you're gone, gone, gone. When you fall like a statue, I'm gonna be there to catch you, put you on your feet, you on your feet. And if your well is empty, not a thing will prevent me. Tell me what you need, what do you need? I surrender honestly. You've always done the same for me, so I will do it for you. For you. Baby, I'm not moving on. I'll love you long after you're gone. For you. For you. You will never sleep alone. I'll love you long after you're gone, and long after you're gone, gone, gone. You're my backbone, you're my cornerstone, you're my crutch when my legs stop moving. You're my head start, you're my rugged heart, you're the pulse that I've always needed. Like a drum, baby, don't stop beating. Like a drum, baby, don't stop beating. Like a drum, baby, don't stop beating. Like a drum, my heart never stops beating for you. For you. Baby, I'm not moving on. I'll love you long after you're gone. For you. For you. You will never sleep alone. I'll love you long after you go. For you. For you. Baby, I'm not moving on. I'll love you long after you're gone. For you. For you. You will never sleep alone. I'll love you long, long after you go. Like a drum, baby, don't stop beating. Like a drum, baby, don't stop beating. Like a drum, baby, don't stop beating. Like a drum, my heart never stops beating for you.
How do you speak after that? Great job on video. As everyone has already expressed how much Laura loved her family, like you guys, you probably do know, but she talked about you guys like all the time. All the time. She loved you so much. And she did such a tremendous job with her children, like Alyssa. Who wouldn't be proud of such an awesome daughter? She's just the best. And Christopher is so famous. His name is on every Bank America ATM machine. It's like he's everywhere. But, you know, she's just a remarkable person. And when I met Laura, I actually met her through Kara Stevenson. And I was volunteering. I was working at St. Francis Medical Center at the time, working with women with breast cancer. And Kara would give me free things to hand out. And a job became available. And she says, well, Brenda, you're doing it anyway. Why don't you come and join us? And I was like, okay, great. This is a great opportunity. And Laura, we bonded one day because we were in the fitting room and someone was trying to decide which reconstruction surgery they should have. And so my suggestion was, well, there's nobody in here, let's just show her our boobs. And then she can pick. And so we're in there letting her feel them and touch them and look at the tattoos, and we were cracking up. Said, hope nobody walk in, they're not gonna know what's happening in here. But it was just so ironic, the things that we would do. She's just remarkable. And I'm just so grateful to her to just have crossed her path as well as her cross mine. Since Suzanne was not here, I would think it's not robbery to ask Dr. Lisa Allen just to have a few words. And after that, we will have remarks from her family. Dr. Lisa means a lot, even, she's still here, right? Okay. She means a lot to me, or Laura introduced me to her as well. And because of her, she ended up saving my mother's life. So she means a lot to me. So at this time, Dr. Lisa Allen.
If it's okay with you, Brenda, and I don't know if you want to, if Erica Linden, if you want to come up also. So I say this because this is Dr. Erica Linden. We're the Capitol Health team. You know, for me, it makes me so sad because as my family grew over the last couple of years, I didn't spend as much time with Laura as I wish I could have. And that makes me so sad because I've known her for about 9 years, or had known her for about 9 years. Meeting at the Breast Cancer Resource Center so many years ago, participating in the fundraising events. I was so happy to help her come to Capitol Health because I really know she was happy there and was able to really fulfill everything that she wanted to as far as her work environment. And she met some fantastic people through that, fantastic friends. But the reason I had Erica come up is because, well, I didn't have the time. She did. She really did. And so, please.
Laura's my friend and my colleague and my patient. And I think we know what her family did for her in her whole life, but in the last few weeks. And it was just a privilege and honor to be with you and to stand by you when she needed us all. And I just really want to say everything that everyone has said rings so true about what an amazing woman she is, an inspiration. She is with me all the time. Mm-hmm. And I know that she is with you. And she is a light in our world and the best. So thank you. And I want to turn this over to the people that can celebrate her for their entire lives.
So hello, everyone. And thank you for joining today in celebration of a lady we loved. You've heard now from several people who've brought the story and spirit to life. And I personally have already shared several tidbits of what my mom meant to me through writing the obituary, leaving memories on the memory website, and through a tribute that I wrote and shared on LinkedIn. So I wondered today about what else I could share that might highlight a few other dimensions of her life and legacy through perhaps a perspective that only I could share as her daughter. And it should be noted up front that I surpassed my mom in maturity at age 3. Her extreme silliness and playfulness made a most perfect playmate growing up. I think of a quote by Kay Boyle from a page-a-day Mary Engelbreit calendar that my mom and I each had that read, "I had the most satisfactory of childhoods because my mother turned out to be exactly my age." And this couldn't be more true. We moved 3 times in my preteen and early teen years, and it was very convenient that my mom, who turned out to be my best friend, was always there. She helped shy and introverted me adjust to each new home, city, and school, transitions that weren't always easy for me. And somehow she consistently managed to become the cool mom that all my girlfriends liked being around with each new friendship circle that I formed. Apparently this wasn't so different from her own mother, and is hopefully a trait I've inherited too, though only time will tell. When I got pregnant in spring of 2019, I really, really wanted a girl. And I know expectant moms are supposed to wish for healthy babies without a preference, but my partiality was loud and clear. And I know why this was. It was because of the relationship I had with my mom, and it was one I wanted to recreate, because I couldn't envision anything else so clearly as I hadn't lived it. It was a pure delight to watch my mom as an expectant grandma, and then a grandma for real, even if it was for such a fairly short period of her life. But I think of just how possible it might have been that she might not have gotten to experience it at all. And not only did she make it to Elia's birth, she made it to her first birthday and beyond. And I believe Elia was a large reason my mom persevered through her challenging fight. She couldn't bear to miss any more of it than she really had to, because in her words, toddlers are too stinking cute. A few other stories. My mom was the family editor among us, and she served as a second pair of eyes for all of our important writing. When I was taking down the list of people she wanted to speak for this event, and she said that I felt comfortable, I joked that I wouldn't have her around to look over my remarks. She offered for me to write it in advance so we could review it together. And I think she was trying to be helpful, or perhaps she didn't trust what I'd produce unedited. And I guess I can't blame her. I've been maid of honor 3 times, and 2 of my speeches resulted in a first draft, which naturally I shared with her, where her feedback was kindly, you might want to start over. But fortunately, her feedback there and everywhere else in life has always been helpful guidance to getting me where I needed to be. She was also a collector, shall we call it. She wasn't good at discarding stuff. And as organized as she might have appeared in life, our house had a very unconventional organizational system, as Robin referenced, in which my mom knew exactly which pile of paper represented what, whereas it might seem to anyone else passing through as a massive filing operation in progress. And I personally was roped in as an accomplice many a time, stashing paper piles into drawers or the empty dryer, which was very common, to hide them because someone was coming over. In her papers that we went through after her passing, there were several paper scraps, discarded envelopes, and the like with her notes about songs she'd heard that she wanted to remember for later, or playlists she was creating in real time for certain events. And when she got a song in her head, she had to get it down on paper. And some of the songs you'll hear after these remarks are compliments of her own scrap notes. We grew up with cats, even though my mom was actually mildly allergic, and she'd grown up with them all throughout her life. But when I was in first grade, someone was giving away kittens in the school playground during pickup. And in the time before cell phones, she and I walked down to the administrative office where we could use the phone, and she had me call my dad to ask if we could get one, thinking that he'd be more agreeable to her, or to me than to her. And when we brought 2 home, I guess she was hoping that he wouldn't notice the blatant difference between one of them being black and one of them being white, as the 2 of them ran around exploring their new homes. This was definitely 1 kitten more than the original request. And my poor dad then had to put up with those darn cats and subsequent household kitties at my mom's insistence for another roughly 20 years. Many of you know, it's been referenced, my mom's love of dancing and music, and you heard she was an Irish dancer, so music and dance was a part of her core. And I remember from my earliest days, many family dance parties as I'd dance around my baby brother's infant swing while Motown hits blared in the background. Now, my mom exposed me to all kinds of activities when I was young, but it turned out that the things that stuck were her shared love of dance, music, and theater. These became my hobbies, and she was a backstage volunteer mom at many of my performances when I was young. But performance arts was something my mom and I both enjoyed together as we'd go to performances together, from local theater to concerts to Broadway. We both shared a sentiment that our own lives would be infinitely more lively as musicals if everyday moments were defined by song and dance. One of my mom's other notable traits that's been referenced today is her intense practicality. And I'd argue this was a family value of sorts because we all share it to some degree, but she was always quick to call a situation what it was without sugarcoating. And in her final years, she was able to face her inevitable fate with remarkable ease, selflessly making decisions that put others' needs and wishes before her own simply because they'd be around for longer. She approached every challenge with an "it is what it is, and I'll do what I have to do" attitude. And she prepared the family very well for what was happening and for life without her, remaining the family matriarch by giving motherly advice and instruction up until the end for things that we should do after she was gone. So I feel we were able to absorb what has happened with such resilience because of the example she set and the openness with which we were all aware of the journey as it played out. And you know this, but this was perhaps especially important for me because I was also inheriting the BCRC gene, the BRCA gene, that led to pancreatic cancer diagnosis and death in now 3 of my relatives. So while this could lead to a scary fate that's always hovering vaguely there in my future, instead, I've now seen that even 59 and a half years can be filled to the brim with love, life, laughter, and impact. You control what you can, like when I was empowered to have my own prophylactic mastectomy with my mom's encouragement and support several years after her breast cancer diagnosis, and otherwise you face what's ahead without letting it define you. So if one day I do have to face a similar fight, I will have already learned from my mom how to do so with bravery, tenacity, and grace. And there is no doubt that she'll be that little voice in my head that her sister was to her, saying, "You can do this." So of course, life without my mom will look and feel very different than with her. But she showed me that happiness and attitude are a choice. And I get the chance to channel my inner Laura Martin every day as a mom now myself. And after 32 years of firsthand observation, I know what it looks like to be a good one. She taught me to be a strong, independent, and thoughtful person, and I know she's immensely proud of the children she raised, in fact, taking perhaps an unfair share of credit for who we turned out to be. But I know she'll be beaming with continued pride wherever she is as we go on and forge our own paths in the world. I will wrap with a quote that I found printed on one of the many papers in one of her many piles, and it sums up the way she approached life very well. It read, "Work with a cause, not applause. Live life to express, not impress. Don't strive to make your presence noticed, just make your absence felt." So the next time you have a drink, raise a glass to and smile at a memory of my mother, for in all of us, she will always shine on. Thank you.
Again, I'd like to reiterate what my daughter said and to thank everybody for being here. I'm a little bit more emotional than she is because there's a few nerves that was kind of initiated during the video and all of the testimony and so on. And there is so much outgoing support for Laura as she battled every single day with this dreadful disease. And I remember the day that she got her news that she had pancreatic cancer, stage 4. The next day I was off taking her car to get it serviced, and I was rear-ended at a light. And I remember someone from Capitol Health, could have been Rona or Trish or someone, or Dr. Linden, say, do you have to be in the spotlight too? Just let her have her day. So here's a lady that's facing her own challenges that rose to the challenge to making sure that I was okay. Now, I won't go through a lot of the stories, and because I'm sure most of them have already been shared and heard by the many people that were up here. But one of the things I do know, that I've had a series of double wives. Before Alyssa came along, there was Janina, my daughter. When she came out to visit, she was my second wife. And then all of a sudden, Janina and Alyssa joined together, and I had 3. So I was always somewhat managed by women in my life. And it just so happens, even after Laura finished her journey, I'm still finding notes telling me what I should do. And not only do they tell me what I should do, they tell me when I should do it. So I know when to shop. I know what bills to pay. I'm even seeing the grief therapist that she wrote down on paper and say, make sure you do this, and this is the person I want you to see, and so on. So Laura was a planner. And I think just by her true nature, not only about what she was doing, she made sure that everybody was okay with whatever consequences they faced, challenges, or whatever. I was truly blessed when I met Laura. It's a lady that I rejected to come to see me in my department in the hotel. She was an intern, and I was a controller, and I needed some help because I had lost a lot of people. And here's this shiny, bright-eyed intern, in our staff meeting, saying, I'll come, I'll help. And I'm like, an intern? No, thank you. So I told her not to come. She showed up anyway, right? And something that I thought was a brief moment or a brief period of helping me through a challenging time at work ended up approximately 37 years later being a really rock solid part of my life. Now, Laura and I talked a lot at the end. We talked about different ways that we could prove certain things. So one of the conversations we had, and I think Roxanne may have mentioned that about the Cardinals, I told her, we were sitting there talking, and I told her, say, okay, if you're okay, you come back as a Cardinal. I think I told Dr. Linden this as well. You come back as a Cardinal and you make sure I know it's you. So about, I would say 2 weeks or so after she passed, I somehow felt the urge to get up to walk to the back window. And I was looking out the window, and there come flickering this red cardinal. And, it didn't get my attention in the beginning, but it flickered to another tree, and it was off in the leaves and so on. But then it flew to a branch closer to my porch, and it looked at me, and it just stood there, and I took out my phone, I took a picture, okay, and I thought, coincidence. Well, as some of you may know, we took a trip to Cape Cod to spread Laura's ashes as she was cremated, and one of the things that she truly enjoyed was the kindness of our sister-in-law, Sarah, who had a beach right on the bay in which we would go to every year, and we took her ashes there to spread them. Well, the next day, after we spread those ashes, I had the granddaughter in a stroller, and I was pushing her down the street, and there was an electrical wire that went across the road, and there comes this cardinal right in the middle of that electrical wire. And then that was all of the reinforcement I needed for validation. And then as people started sharing their stories, Alyssa saw a red cardinal in her backyard. Our friend Robin saw one in her backyard. And then the story about Roxanne. So whatever confirmation it was, it's working for me because I feel that I've been visited multiple times by her. You know, I'm not, and our family is really not a very emotional family. You know, as you look, we have kind of two sides. We have my kids and we have our kids, but we always blended well as a family, and we always took very difficult situations at a great level of understanding. And I think what Laura was able to do that many people are not is take whoever surrounded her and to bring them together and to create a common bond somewhat that they could share and hold on to and make a part of their life. And for that, I thank her, and for those of you who supported Laura as well as the family, I thank you. And it's been an unbelievable outpouring of sympathy, compassion, whatever the emotion was. Everybody was there for our family. And I'll leave you with that before I get emotional. And again, thank you for showing up for Laura. We are, you know, I don't know how much time we have left, so we finished right on time. But, you know, as was mentioned earlier about Brenda, there's some note cards over here on the table. And as you would know, I didn't have Laura there to tell me not to forget the book to help everybody sign in for. I forgot it. But again, you know, spend a little time and get to know everybody here and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.